The voice of a 9-year-old girl drifted through the small apartment in Alexandria, Virginia. Pure, unaware.
We came to negotiate
innocent in a
peace,
way
not
that would
war.
not
Peace
last
is a
much
luxury
longer.
for the strong.
Then
Oh,
prove
beautiful
your
for
strength.
spacious
I
skies,
shall.
for amber waves.
We
of
come
pain.
in peace.
Cassidy
Peace
Thornwood
is not an
stood at
option.
the window of their
Then
third
we will
floor
defend
apartment,
ourselves.
her small hands pressed against
Alert
the
status
glass.
elevated. Systems are
The
showing
city
anomalies.
lights of
Initiate
Washington,
lockdown protocol
D.C.
immediately.
glowed in
Monitor
the
Sector 7.
distance. Above them, the night
I'm
sky
on site,
stretched
moving to the
endless
entrance.
and dark.
I need full
Stars
clearance,
flickered
no
like
delays.
distant promises,
Copy that.
like
Standing by.
lies waiting to be revealed. Her father stood in the doorway, phone raised, recording. Ambassador Elias Thornwood was 48 years old. Silver touched his temples. Lines carved his face from 2 decades of military service, followed by another decade negotiating with men who spoke in careful lies. He had seen combat in Fallujah. He had watched friends die in Kandahar. He had sat across from warlords and dictators and men who smiled while planning murder. But nothing in his life had prepared him for this moment. For purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain, Cassidy's voice cracked slightly on the high note. She giggled, started again. She wore pajamas covered in stars and planets. Ironic, Elias thought. She had always loved space, always asked questions about what was out there, about whether humanity was alone. Soon she would know. The recording captured everything. The slight tremor in her voice, the way her breath fogged the window glass, the innocent belief that tomorrow would be just another day. Elias watched through his phone screen, committing every detail to memory. The curve of her cheek, the wild tangle of her dark hair, the small scar on her chin from when she fell off her bike last summer. His wife, Catherine, had died 6 years ago. Cancer had taken her slowly, painfully, while Cassidy was only 3, too young to really remember her mother. Too young to understand why Daddy sometimes cried in the shower where she could not hear. On his desk sat their wedding photo, Catherine's bright smile, her gentle eyes that Cassidy had inherited, the promise he had made her on that deathbed: take care of our daughter, keep her safe, be there when she needs you. Now Cassidy was all he had, and tomorrow the galaxy would come knocking. The alert came at exactly 9:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Elias's secure phone vibrated once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. The pattern they had established 40 years ago, the pattern that meant everything had changed. He lowered the phone, recording Cassidy. She turned from the window, sensing the shift in the room. Children always knew, some primal instinct that recognized when adults stopped pretending everything was fine. Daddy. Elias looked at his daughter, 9 years old, 4th grade, loved horses and hated broccoli, and could recite every constellation in the Northern Hemisphere. She had her mother's eyes, Catherine's gentle smile, but she had his stubborn chin, his refusal to accept easy answers. Sweetheart, he said quietly, remember what we talked about the preparations? Cassidy nodded slowly. They had practiced this conversation, role-played it like a game, but games were different when they became real. Are they here? Her voice was steady, brave. God, she was so brave. Yes. The bad aliens you've been getting ready for, yes. She processed this for exactly 3 seconds. Then, are we going to be okay? Elias crossed the room, knelt before his daughter, took her small hands in his scarred, calloused ones, hands that had held rifles and signed peace treaties, and cradled her when nightmares woke her at 2 a.m. We've been preparing for 40 years, he said, since before you were born, since before I was born. Smart people, brave people. They saw this coming and they got ready. We have plans, we have weapons, we have allies. Will you have to go away? The question cut deeper than any knife. Elias thought of Catherine on her deathbed, making him promise to take care of their daughter, to keep her safe, to be there when she needed him. And now he had to leave. Yes, Cassidy's lower lip trembled, but she did not cry. She was Catherine's daughter, strong when it mattered. For how long? I don't know, baby, but I promise you something. He squeezed her hands gently. When this is over, when we've sent these bad guys packing, you and me, we're going to the Grand Canyon. Just us. We'll stand at the edge and look at 1 billion years of Earth's history. We'll watch the sunset. We'll remember this moment and we'll know we made it through. Deal? Cassidy searched his face, looking for lies, for false hope. She was too smart for easy comfort. Finally, she nodded. Deal, Daddy. They linked pinkies. A sacred oath between father and daughter. A promise that would have to be kept in a galaxy that had just become infinitely more dangerous. Elias pulled her into a hug, breathed in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, felt her small heart beating against his chest, memorized the weight of her in his arms. I love you, Cassidy. I love you too, Daddy. He held her for 10 more seconds. Then his phone buzzed again. Duty calling. The world calling. 8 billion souls who did not yet know that first contact had arrived, and it had not come in peace. Elias stood. Cassidy stepped back. She was already composing herself, already being brave. He hated it, hated that she had to be strong at 9 years old, hated the universe for being cruel and random and full of species that saw humanity as cattle. Mrs. Patterson next door will take you to the evacuation point, he said, using his ambassador voice now. Calm, professional, lying. You'll be safe in the bunker. Mountains of Colorado, deep underground. Nothing can hurt you there. Okay. There will be other kids, games, movies, books. It'll be like summer camp. Okay, Daddy. And I will come back. I promise. Cassidy nodded, but her eyes glistened. She was 9. She was brave, but she was still a child who did not want her father to leave. Elias kissed her forehead, grabbed his go-bag from the closet. It had been packed for 6 years. Ever since the deep space probes detected the Dominion expanding into the outer rim of human-monitored space. He paused at the door, looked back. Cassidy stood at the window again, small against the glass, looking up at the sky where alien warships were even now entering Earth's orbit. Sing your song, Elias said softly, while you wait for Mrs. Patterson. Remember that we're fighting for spacious skies and amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, for you. Then he left before she could see him cry. The elevator descended 48 floors. Elias composed himself on the way down, wiped his eyes, steadied his breathing, checked his phone. 73 messages, all variants of the same thing. They are here. The lobby was chaos. Building security ushering residents toward evacuation shuttles. News playing on every screen. Unconfirmed reports, speculation. Panic beginning to ripple through the ignorant masses who did not know that a select few had been preparing for exactly this scenario since 1983. Elias walked past it all, out into the cold November night. A black SUV waited at the curb. Government plates, tinted windows, engine running. He climbed into the back seat. General Catherine Brennan sat beside him. 54 years old, iron gray hair pulled into a tight bun, eyes like flint. 2 stars on her uniform, 29 years of service. The finest strategic mind in the United States Armed Forces. She had lost her husband in Iraq, her son in Afghanistan. She had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Ambassador, she said. General. The SUV pulled away from the curb, headed toward the Pentagon, toward the underground command center that had been built in secret beneath the building's already fortified sublevels. How many ships, Elias asked? 317 dreadnought class, each one capable of glassing a continent. Shields, active and holding position in high orbit. No aggressive moves yet. They're waiting. For what? For us to soil ourselves and surrender, presumably. Elias almost smiled. Brennan had a gift for gallows humor. It was one of the reasons they worked well together. The president, aboard Air Force One, secure. He's authorized full defensive protocols. Rules of engagement are weapons-free if they fire first. And the ultimatum, Brennan handed him a tablet, came through 20 minutes ago, broadcast on every frequency, every language. They want you specifically. By name. Elias read the message. Standard Dominion template. Humanity had intercepted hundreds of these over the past 40 years. Sent to species across the galaxy. The wording never changed much. Submit or burn, kneel or die. Choose slavery or extinction. They want me aboard their flagship in 6 hours, Elias said, to receive formal terms of surrender. Will you go? Of course. Brennan studied him. You know it's a power play. They'll have you stand in some enormous room designed to make you feel small. Some massive alien will loom over you and recite the terms. Tribute, soldiers, resources, standard imperial bullshit. I know. And you're going anyway. Someone has to look them in the eye and say no. The SUV descended into the Pentagon's underground garage. Multiple security checkpoints. Biometric scans. Armed soldiers at every junction. They were taking no chances. Deep beneath the building, the Crisis Command Center hummed with controlled urgency. Dozens of screens, hundreds of personnel. Real-time satellite feeds showing the Dominion fleet in high orbit. Massive ships, brutal and efficient in their design. No artistry, no elegance, just weapons platforms built to intimidate and destroy. Elias had studied their designs for 20 years, knew their capabilities, their weaknesses. The Dominion was 3,000 years old. They had conquered 10,000 worlds. They were good at this, but they had never conquered humanity. And they did not know what humanity had been preparing. The briefing took 90 minutes. Threat assessment, fleet composition, defensive readiness, evacuation protocols for major cities. Every contingency mapped and planned and rehearsed. Elias listened to it all, asked pointed questions, made small adjustments to deployment schedules. But part of his mind was still in that apartment, still holding Cassidy, still making promises he might not be able to keep. At 2:17 a.m., he boarded a stealth shuttle. Brennan accompanied him along with two aides. No weapons, diplomatic protocols observed. The Dominion had agreed to safe passage for the meeting. Whether they would honor that agreement remained to be seen. The flight to the flagship took 40 minutes. The shuttle was cramped. Silent, Elias used the time to review his notes, to prepare his responses, to steel himself for what was coming. He had negotiated with terrorists, with warlords, with men who beheaded journalists and burned children alive, but he had never negotiated with a species that had exterminated billions. The Dominion flagship loomed ahead, 15 kilometers long, bristling with weapons. The name translated roughly as Vengeance Eternal. Subtle. They docked in a cavernous bay. Gravity increased as they disembarked, heavier than Earth standard, designed to make humans uncomfortable, to remind them they were in alien territory. The escort was already waiting. 4 Zarian soldiers, each one 3 meters tall, gray-scaled skin, eyes that glowed a dull, angry red, armed with weapons that could vaporize a human in seconds. They did not speak, simply gestured for Elias and his team to follow. The corridors were massive, built for beings much larger than humans. Holographic displays showed conquered worlds, thousands of them, each one bearing the mark of the Dominion, a symbol that meant submission across 100,000 light years. They wanted humans to see this, to understand the futility of resistance. Elias noted every detail, recorded everything with the micro camera built into his lapel pin, intelligence gathering even in the moment of first contact. The conference room was designed to intimidate, 15 meters high. Walls covered in more holographic displays. A table that could seat 50, and at the head of that table, War Prelate Karvoth, 3 meters tall, broader than the others, scales darker with age, eyes burning with the confidence of a species that had never known defeat. He wore armor adorned with medals, commendations, honors from 1,000 campaigns. Behind him stood 24 more soldiers, an honor guard, a threat, a promise. Elias walked to the opposite end of the table. His team flanked him. Brennan on his right, the 2 aides on his left. 4 humans dwarfed by the massive chamber. 4 mice standing before a dragon. Karvoth let the silence stretch. A power move, establishing dominance through discomfort. Elias waited, patient. He had learned patience in desert foxholes, had learned stillness during hostage negotiations where one wrong word could mean death. Finally, Karvoth spoke. His voice was deep, resonant, carrying the weight of 3,000 years of imperial authority. You are Ambassador Elias Thornwood, representative of the species designated human, inhabitants of the planet designated Earth. I am. You will address me as War Prelate. I'll address you as Karvoth. Seems simpler. The soldiers shifted, hands moving toward weapons. Karvoth raised one massive hand. They stilled. You are brave or foolish human. I've been called both. Karvoth leaned forward. The chair creaked under his weight. Do you understand why you have been summoned? To receive terms of surrender. Standard Dominion protocol. You've used the same speech on 10,000 worlds. Submit. Provide tribute, resources, and soldiers when called. In exchange, you won't glass our planet. Very generous. Something flickered in Karvoth's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Most species groveled by now. You know of the Dominion. We've been watching you for 40 years. Stealth probes in your territory, monitoring your communications, learning your tactics. We know exactly who you are and what you do. The room tensed. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Primitives were supposed to be afraid, awed, desperate, not informed, not prepared. Impossible, Karvoth said. Our sensor networks are absolute. No species has penetrated our space undetected. Elias smiled, thin, cold. The smile of a man holding cards his opponent did not know existed. Your sensor networks are good, not perfect. We've had eyes on you since 1983. Earth calendar. We know your fleet compositions, your supply lines, your command structure. We know about the rebellions in your outer rim sectors. The species you've enslaved who keep sabotaging your logistics chains." He paused. "Must be frustrating." Karvoth's eyes narrowed, red glow intensifying. "You are lying, attempting to unsettle me. It will not work. 6 months ago, your encrypted military channel started playing a song, human song, Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. Remember, drove your communications officers crazy for 3 weeks before they finally purged it." The silence was absolute. "That was us," Elias continued. "We call it getting rickrolled. It's a joke from Earth's internet culture. We were testing your systems, seeing how deep we could go. Turns out pretty deep." Karvoth stood slowly, all 3 meters of him, fury radiating from every scale. "You dare mock the Dominion? I dare state facts. You came here thinking we're primitives. Easy prey. Another species to add to your collection. You're wrong. We're not what you think we are." "Then what are you?" Elias met his gaze, held it, refused to look away. "We're the species that's going to say no." Karvoth slammed one massive fist onto the table. The metal dented. Holographic displays flickered from the impact. "You compare our eternal dominion to your primitive tribes. We have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. We have weapons that crack planets, fleets that blot out stars. Your entire species barely understands faster than light travel." "True," Elias agreed. "We're young, inexperienced. Our technology is limited compared to yours." He leaned forward. "But we've heard your speech before. Different languages, different empires, same arrogance." Genghis Khan thought he'd rule forever. The Roman Empire believed it was eternal. Napoleon, Hitler, the Third Reich, all of them stood where you're standing. All of them made the same mistake. "What mistake?" "Underestimating us." Brennan spoke for the first time. Her voice was flat, professional, delivering a threat wrapped in courtesy. "My grandfather landed at Normandy Beach, June 6, 1944. 20,000 Allied soldiers hit those beaches. 4,000 died in the first day. But they kept coming, because they knew what they were fighting for." She paused. "Not what they hated in front of them, what they loved behind them. Their families, their homes, their freedom." Karvoth turned his burning gaze to her. "Ancient history, primitive warfare. The principles haven't changed. You're threatening our home, our children, everything we love. You think that makes us weak, desperate, ready to submit. It should." Brennan smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Then you really don't understand humans at all." Elias stood. His team rose with him. 4 humans in a room full of aliens who could kill them in seconds. But standing tall, refusing to kneel. "War Prelate Karvoth, humanity has considered your offer. We respectfully decline. We have prior commitments. Democracy, freedom, self-determination. These are not negotiable." "Then you choose extinction." "We choose to fight for what we believe in. If that means extinction, so be it. But we won't go quietly. We won't submit. We won't kneel to tyrants who think might makes right." Karvoth's scales seemed to darken. His eyes blazed brighter. Around him, soldiers raised weapons. "You have 7 of your days, 168 hours. At the end of that time, if you have not signaled unconditional surrender, we will demonstrate why none resist the Dominion. We'll be ready." "You are fools. In 7 days your world burns, your cities turn to ash. Your species becomes a footnote in galactic history, a cautionary tale about pride and stupidity." Elias turned toward the door, paused, looked back over his shoulder. "One more thing, War Prelate. This conversation is being broadcast live. Every network on Earth. 8 billion people just watched you threaten to burn our world." He smiled again, that same cold, dangerous smile. "Humans are funny creatures. We're at our most dangerous when someone threatens our home. History is full of people who learn that lesson the hard way." They walked toward the transport pad. Soldiers parted reluctantly, hands still on weapons, waiting for the order to fire. It did not come. Karvoth watched them go, something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. Not fear. He had not felt fear in 300 years. But uncertainty. These humans were different. Wrong. They should be terrified, begging. Instead, they were calm, prepared, confident. As the humans disappeared in columns of light, Karvoth's second-in-command approached. Sub-Prelate Vexlar, younger, less experienced, more prone to doubt. "War Prelate, your orders. Begin preparations. We will make an example of these humans. The other vassal species are watching. If we show weakness, we invite rebellion." And if the humans were telling the truth about monitoring us, about penetrating our systems? Impossible, they are primitives, they are bluffing. But Carvoth's voice lacked its usual certainty. Nevertheless, he added quietly, increase intelligence gathering. I want to know everything about Earth's military capabilities. Everything. Vexler saluted and departed. Carvoth remained in the empty conference room, staring at the space where the humans had stood. Something was wrong. Primitives did not refuse the Dominion. Primitives did not smile while being threatened with extinction. Primitives did not hack Dominion military channels to play juvenile songs. These humans were either insane or far more dangerous than their technological level suggested. In 7 days, Carvoth would discover which. Elias materialized in the Pentagon transport hub. His ears were ringing, his hands shaking slightly from the adrenaline crash. He had just told a galactic empire to go to hell. And he had done it while thinking of a 9-year-old girl who loved horses and hated broccoli and sang patriotic songs off-key. Brennan touched his elbow. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever witnessed. Little of both, probably. They moved through security, down corridors, into the command center where 200 people waited for the debrief. But Elias only had eyes for the main screen. It showed Earth, blue and green and white, beautiful, fragile. Home to 8 billion souls who were about to learn that the universe was not empty, and that the neighbors were not friendly. Is everything in position? Elias asked quietly. Brennan consulted her tablet. Orbital defense platforms online, lunar mass drivers charged, Mars colony shields active, asteroid belt weapons ready. Every major city has evacuation bunkers prepared. She looked up. We've been ready for 40 years. If they come, they're in for a surprise. They'll come. Carvoth's type always does. Can't imagine losing because they never have. Then we teach them a new lesson. Elias nodded, but his mind was in Colorado, in a bunker deep beneath the mountains, where Cassidy was probably scared, probably trying to be brave, probably wondering if Daddy was okay. He pulled out his phone, composed a message. The bunker had secure communication, limited but functional. Hi, baby. Meeting went well. The bad guys are just as arrogant as we thought. We have 7 days to get ready, but we've been preparing for 40 years. We've got this. I love you. Stay strong and remember our promise. Grand Canyon, you and me, when this is over. I love you, Cassidy, so much. Dad, he sent it. Watch the little indicator show it had been delivered. Somewhere under a mountain his daughter would read it, would know he was thinking of her, would maybe sleep a little easier. It was all he could give her right now. All stations, Brennan's voice rang out across the command center. This is General Brennan. You've all seen the broadcast. You know what we're facing. 317 warships, each one capable of planetary bombardment. They've given us 7 days to surrender. She paused. Let the weight settle. We're not surrendering. Not now, not ever. We've spent 4 decades preparing for this exact scenario. Every weapon, every defense, every contingency. This is what we trained for. This is why we exist. Another pause. Longer. In 7 days, the Dominion is going to learn something. They're going to learn what happens when you threaten humanity's home. They're going to learn that we don't kneel. We don't break. We don't quit. Her voice rose, strong, clear, certain. They think we're primitives. Let them think that. Let them underestimate us. Because in 7 days, we're going to show them what humanity does to bullies and tyrants in empires built on fear. She looked around the room, meeting eyes, sharing strength. Get to work. We have a planet to defend. The room erupted into controlled chaos. Orders given, systems checked, weapons armed, 40 years of preparation coming to fruition. Elias watched it all, felt pride swelling in his chest. These people, Americans, Russians, Chinese, Europeans, Africans, Asians, South Americans, every nation, every creed, every color, united, not as countries, as humanity. The next 7 days passed in a blur of preparation, public addresses, military drills, civilian evacuations. Every major city had bunkers, deep, hardened, stocked with supplies for months. People were scared, confused, angry, but they were also determined. News networks ran constant coverage. Experts debated. Religious leaders prayed. Children asked questions their parents could not answer. And through it all, one message repeated, broadcast by every government, every official channel. We will not surrender. We will fight. We will survive. On day 3, Elias received a video message from Cassidy. She was in the Colorado bunker. Surrounded by other children, a teacher was leading them in songs, games, trying to maintain normalcy in an abnormal situation. Cassidy's face filled his screen. So young, so brave. "Hi, Daddy. I hope you're okay. The bunker is nice. Lots of kids. The food is pretty good. Mrs. Patterson says we're safe here, that nothing can hurt us." I believe her. "I'm being brave like you said. I made a new friend. Her name is Emma. She's 7. Her dad is a pilot. He's fighting too. We're taking care of each other. I love you, Daddy. Come back soon. Don't forget our promise. Grand Canyon, you and me so. Love you." Elias watched the video 7 times, memorized every frame, every word, every expression. This was why he was fighting, not for abstracts like freedom and democracy. For her, for Cassidy. For every child who deserved to grow up in a galaxy where tyrants did not dictate their future. Day 5 brought tension. Dominion ships began maneuvering, testing Earth's response times, probing defenses. Elias authorized limited engagement. Warning shots only. Don't start the war, but don't back down either. 2 Dominion scouts ventured too close to the lunar defense perimeter. Railguns tracked them. Locked on, waited. The scouts retreated, message received. Day 6 was quieter. The calm before the storm. Personnel checked and rechecked weapons, said goodbyes to loved ones, made peace with whatever gods they believed in. Elias spent the day reviewing tactical plans, going over every scenario, every contingency. He also wrote letters, one to Cassidy, to be delivered if he did not survive, telling her how much he loved her, how proud he was, how she should live her life without fear. He sealed it, filed it with military personnel records, hoped he would never need it. Day 7 dawned clear and cold. November 15th, 2023, a date that would be remembered as long as humanity endured. At 0600 hours, Dominion ships began moving into attack formation. At 0630, Karvoth broadcast one final ultimatum. His massive face appeared on every screen, every device, every surface capable of receiving a signal. "Humans of Earth, this is your final opportunity. Submit or be destroyed. You have 1 hour to signal your surrender. If you do not, we will commence planetary bombardment. Your cities will burn. Your species will face extinction. This is your choice." The message ended. 60 minutes to decide the fate of 8 billion souls. Elias stood in the command center, Brennan beside him, 200 personnel watching, waiting. His phone buzzed, a message from the president. "It's your call, Elias. Whatever you decide, we support you." The weight of that pressed down, crushing, impossible. If he said surrender, millions might live. Enslaved, broken, but alive. If he said fight, millions might die. Free, defiant, but dead. He thought of Cassidy, of Catherine, of his grandfather who stormed Normandy Beach, of every person who had ever stood at a crossroads and chosen the hard right over the easy wrong. He pulled out his tablet, composed a response. It was not a speech, not a negotiation, not a plea, just 4 words and 3 symbols. He hit send. The message broadcast across every Dominion frequency, every ship in the fleet, directly to Karvoth's command center. On the Dominion flagship, alarm sounded. Officers scrambled. Karvoth stared at the message in disbelief. "They're mocking us," Vexlar said quietly. "They're mocking the Dominion." "Not just mocking," Karvoth growled. "Look at the transmission signature." It had not come from Earth. It had come from inside the Dominion fleet's own communication network. The humans were already in their systems, already inside their defenses, already proving they were not primitives. Karvoth felt something he had not experienced in 3 centuries. A cold finger of doubt running down his spine. "All ships," he commanded, his voice hard, angry, trying to mask the uncertainty. "Attack formation. Target Earth's orbital platforms. Prepare to fire on my command." The fleet moved. 317 warships, weapons charging, shields maximizing. But deep in their systems code was already executing. Viruses planted months ago, backdoors opened by human hackers who had spent 40 years learning Dominion systems. The war had not yet begun, but the first shot had been fired. And it was a joke, a song, a middle finger from a species that refused to kneel. Elias watched the Dominion fleet approach on tactical displays. Massive, overwhelming, unstoppable. Except they were not unstoppable. Nothing was. "General Brennan," he said quietly, "give them one more thing to think about." Brennan smiled, grim, predatory, the smile of a soldier who had waited 20 years for this moment. With pleasure, she opened a channel, broadcast across all Dominion military frequencies, and then music began to play. Loud, aggressive, defiant. It ain't me, I ain't no senator's son. Fortunate Son by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Protest rock from Earth's past. Raw, angry, perfect. On 317 Dominion warships, commanders scrambled to block the transmission. They could not. The music played louder. It ain't me, I ain't no fortunate one. Elias closed his eyes, listened to the song, thought of every soldier who had ever fought against impossible odds, every person who had ever said no to tyrants. His grandfather on Normandy Beach, Marines in Fallujah, resistance fighters across history, and now humanity, 8 billion souls, standing against an empire 3,000 years old. All defensive platforms, Brennan's voice cut through the music. This is General Brennan. You know your orders. You know what's at stake. Today we show the galaxy what humans do when you threaten our home. Today we remind the universe that we don't kneel, we don't break, we don't surrender. Pause. 2 seconds of silence. Heavy, pregnant with violence. Fire at will, and the battle for Earth began. The satellites came alive. For 40 years they had orbited Earth in silence, disguised as weather monitors, communication relays, scientific instruments. Humanity's secrets scattered across low and high orbit like seeds waiting for spring. Now it was harvest time. Panels opened, disguises fell away. Weapons that had never fired in anger locked onto targets that had no idea they were already dead. Railguns, electromagnetic accelerators, kinetic kill vehicles, no lasers, no plasma. Just metal moving at speeds that made nuclear weapons look gentle. The first volley launched at 0701 hours. Elias watched on tactical displays. Thousands of projectiles, simple slugs of tungsten and steel, accelerated to significant fractions of light speed, each one carrying a kinetic energy that would make a small sun jealous. The Dominion fleet saw them coming, adjusted shields, locked point defense systems, prepared to swat aside primitive weapons with contemptuous ease. The shields failed in the first 3 seconds. Zarian defensive technology was magnificent. Energy absorption matrices, plasma dissipation fields, designed to stop the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. But railgun rounds were not advanced. They were old, simple, brutal, solid matter moving so fast that physics became a weapon. The first 3 cruisers at the front of the Dominion formation simply disintegrated, metal tearing through metal. Kinetic force ripping hulls apart like tissue paper, explosions blooming in the vacuum. Silent, beautiful, deadly. Shields ineffective against kinetic weapons, Vexler shouted on the Dominion flagship. They're penetrating our defenses. Karvoth stared at the tactical display. 3 ships gone, just like that. Primitives had just destroyed ships that had conquered 100 worlds. Return fire. All weapons destroy those satellites. The Dominion fleet responded. Energy beams lancing through space. Missiles accelerating toward human platforms. Point defense systems tracking thousands of targets. Some satellites died, vaporized, shattered, silent deaths in the black. But there were thousands of them, and they kept firing. On the moon, Elias had other gifts waiting. Tycho Crater, Copernicus, Oceanus Procellarum, names from humanity's early space dreams. But beneath those craters, built over 40 years in absolute secrecy, were weapons that made the orbital platforms look like toys. Electromagnetic mass drivers, the size of skyscrapers laid horizontal. Accelerators that could launch projectiles the size of small spacecraft at velocities that bent the rules of conventional warfare. General Brennan gave the order. Lunar batteries, fire. The moon shuddered. 6 projectiles launched simultaneously. Guided kinetic kill vehicles. Smart weapons with basic AI, capable of course correction. Target acquisition. Independent action if communication was severed. They crossed the distance in seconds. Each one struck a different Dominion battleship. The impacts were catastrophic. Pure kinetic energy. No radiation, no electromagnetic pulse. Just force, momentum. Physics at its most fundamental and terrifying. The battleship Fist of Dominion took a hit amidships. The projectile punched through 17 decks, penetrated the reactor core. The ship did not explode. It simply ceased to exist in one coherent piece, broke apart like a toy. Eternal Wrath suffered a bridge strike, command and control obliterated. The ship went dark, drifting, dead. Conqueror's pride vented atmosphere from a dozen hull breaches. Emergency bulkheads failed. Crew died by the thousands as vacuum claimed them. 6 dreadnoughts lost. Someone was screaming on the Dominion command channel. How is this possible? They're primitives. Carvoth watched his fleet fall apart. Watched decades of conquest crumble against weapons that should not work, should not exist. Send in the fighters, he commanded, voice tight with rage and disbelief. Overwhelm their defenses with numbers. Show them what Dominion superiority means. From carrier vessels, fighters launched. Thousands of them, single-pilot craft, fast, maneuverable, armed with weapons that could slag a city block. They swarmed toward Earth like locusts, like death on wings, and humanity met them with pilots who had been modified to survive what no natural human could endure. Major Dakota Reeves sat in the cockpit of his fighter. Designation Reaper 7, age 31. Father of twin boys, Matthew and Marcus, 6 years old. Safe in a bunker in Wyoming. His body was not entirely his own anymore. Genetic modifications, cybernetic enhancements, neural interfaces, drug cocktails that would kill an unmodified human in minutes. All of it designed for one purpose: to survive forces that would liquefy normal flesh. His vision was augmented, saw in spectrums invisible to natural eyes, tracked 40 targets simultaneously. Reaction time measured in hundreds of seconds. His bones were reinforced, muscles enhanced, blood chemistry altered to carry oxygen more efficiently under extreme acceleration. He was part machine, part human, all weapon. Reaper Squadron, this is Reaper 1. His voice was calm, professional, the voice of a man who had made peace with dying. Engage at will. Remember your training. Speed over armor. Precision over power. Make every shot count. Reaper 7 copies for Earth. His fighter accelerated. 15 gravities. A normal human would black out. Die. But Dakota's modified body handled it. Barely. He tasted blood. Felt his vision tunnel. But he held consciousness. Locked weapons. And engaged. The dogfight was vicious. Human fighters twisted through space in patterns that defied belief. Turns that should snap spines. Accelerations that should pulp organs. But modified pilots held together. Survived. Fought. Dakota's targeting system sang. Missile lock. Fire. Another. Fire. Guns. Fire. 3 Dominion fighters died in the first 30 seconds. His radio crackled with other pilots. Other voices. Other warriors. Ghost here, I count 4 kills. Who's buying drinks after? Phantom 3, scratch 2 more. This is easier than the simulations. Wraith Squadron forming up on my position. Let's show these bastards how humans fly. The Dominion pilots were good, trained, disciplined, following doctrine that had won 10,000 battles. But they were limited. Biological limits, normal flesh and bone, standard reaction times. They could not match modified humans who could survive 15 G-turns, who could process information faster, react quicker, push their fighters to performance envelopes that would kill Zarian pilots. The kill ratio was brutal. For every human fighter lost, 4 Dominion craft died. Dakota's board showed 9 kills, 9 enemy fighters reduced to expanding clouds of debris, 9 pilots who would never go home. He felt nothing about that, could not afford to feel. Not in combat. Emotion was death. But part of him thought of Matthew and Marcus, 6 years old, playing with toy spaceships, not understanding that Daddy was fighting real ones, fighting so they could keep playing, fighting so they could grow up free. Reaper 7, break left. You have got 3 on your 6. Dakota rolled, twisted, pushed his fighter through a maneuver that generated 17 gravities of force. His vision grayed, blood vessels burst in his eyes, nose bleeding, but he completed the turn. Came out guns blazing. 2 Dominion fighters disintegrated. The 3rd managed to evade. Dakota pursued. Hunter and prey. Predator and victim. Roles that had not changed since the first human picked up a rock and threw it at something that needed killing. His missiles locked. Fire. The Dominion fighter tried to evade. Failed. Explosion. Debris. Silence. 10 kills. Reaper 7 to all units. That's 10 for me. Who's got more? Wraith 2 here. I'm at 12. Try to keep up, old man. Dakota grinned, blood on his teeth. Pain singing through his modified nervous system. But alive. Still fighting. Challenge accepted. But then the Dominion changed tactics. Carvoth had watched enough. Seen enough of his fighters die against impossible odds. Time for escalation. Deploy planet breaker missiles. Target their major population centers. If we cannot conquer this world, we will destroy it. 6 massive weapons launched from battleship bays. Each one carried enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Trigger earthquakes, volcanoes, geological apocalypse. They accelerated toward Earth, engines burning bright in the darkness. In the Pentagon Command Center, alarms screamed. Planet breaker missiles detected. An analyst's voice cracked with fear. 6 inbound. Targets are New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Tokyo, and Sao Paulo. Impact in 90 seconds. Brennan's face went white. Those cities held hundreds of millions. Bunkers could not save them all. Not from weapons designed to shatter continents. She looked at Elias. He thought of Cassidy, of every child in every bunker, of every person who trusted that humanity had prepared, had solutions, had hope. Activate Aegis, he said quietly. Sir, we've only tested it twice, both times in controlled environments. We don't know if it will hold under combat stress. Activate it now. Brennan nodded, gave the order. Around Earth, a network of satellites that had remained dormant suddenly powered up. Technology that had cost 40 years of research, trillions of dollars, based on theoretical physics that most scientists thought impossible. Quantum field resonance, energy manipulation at the subatomic level, creating barriers that existed in multiple states simultaneously. In simpler terms, a shield. The satellites projected overlapping fields. Energy matrices interwoven like chainmail made of physics. A shimmering barrier appeared around the planet, visible from space. Beautiful. Terrifying. The planet breaker missile struck the shield at 0743 hours. Explosions bloomed, each one bright enough to be seen from the ground. Energy release equivalent to multiple nuclear weapons. The shield flickered, wavered. Power levels dropped from 100% to 60 to 40. But it held. The missiles detonated harmlessly above the atmosphere. Their destructive power dissipated into the void. On the ground in bunkers across Earth, people watched screens showing the explosions in orbit. Watched death denied. Watched impossible technology save billions. In Colorado, Cassidy Thornwood watched with 200 other children. Her small hand gripped Emma's, the 7-year-old whose father was also fighting, also risking everything. Did we win? Emma whispered. Not yet, Cassidy said, 9 years old, but old enough to understand that battles and wars were different things. But we're still here. That means we're still fighting. On the Dominion flagship, Karvoth stared in disbelief. Planet breakers had failed. Primitives had technology that would stop weapons designed to exterminate civilizations. What are these humans? Vexler asked, voice small, scared. Karvoth had no answer. For 3,000 years, the Dominion had conquered, subjugated, destroyed. They had never faced resistance like this. Never encountered a species that matched them weapon for weapon. The casualties mounted, 60 Dominion ships destroyed, 80 more damaged. The fleet that had entered Sol system with absolute confidence was bleeding, breaking, dying. And then Elias made the decision that would define humanity's reputation across the galaxy. General Brennan, he said, voice steady. We have them, disabled, helpless. We could finish them now. Brennan looked at the tactical display. Karvoth's fleet in disarray, shields failing, weapons depleted, at humanity's mercy. Your orders, sir. Elias thought of Catherine, of the promise he made her. Take care of Cassidy. Be the man she believed you were. He thought of his grandfather, landing at Normandy, liberating concentration camps, showing mercy to defeated enemies because that was what Americans did. He thought of 3,000 years of Dominion tyranny, of billions enslaved, exterminated, oppressed. And he made his choice. We could destroy them all. He paused. 2 seconds of silence. Heavy, deliberate. But that's not who we are. Brennan stared at him. Sir, open a channel, broadcast to the Dominion fleet. Offer them surrender terms. Geneva Conventions apply. They disarm abandoned ships, and we recover their escape pods. No executions, no torture, humane treatment. When hostilities end, they go home. Elias, that's an order, General. Brennan held his gaze, saw the conviction there, the moral courage to choose right over easy. She nodded. All stations, broadcasting surrender offered to Dominion forces. The message went out, simple, clear, offering an enemy mercy when humanity had every right to annihilate them. On the Dominion flagship, Karvoth received the transmission. Read it twice. could not believe what he was seeing. There, offering surrender, promising humane treatment. Vexler checked the translation. Yes, war prelate. They say we will be treated as prisoners of war under something called Geneva Conventions. No execution, no torture, medical treatment, food, shelter. Return home when the war ends. Carvoth thought of every species the Dominion had conquered. None had been offered such terms. None had been shown mercy, because the Dominion never showed mercy to anyone. They could destroy us, he said quietly. We are helpless, defeated, and they offer this. Something shifted in his chest. 300 years of certainty cracking. Full retreat, he ordered. All ships that can still maneuver, withdraw from Sol system. Those too damaged to flee, signal surrender. The Dominion fleet broke. Some ships limped away into the dark. Others drifted, broadcasting surrender, abandoning ships, crews evacuating to escape pods. True to their word, human recovery ships collected every pod. 15,000 Zarian soldiers and crew, all rescued, all given medical treatment, food, water. All shown the mercy the Dominion had never offered anyone. Carvoth watched from his damaged flagship as human ships approached. Not to destroy, to rescue. I underestimated them, he said to Vexler. We all did. These humans, they are not primitives. They are warriors. But they are also something else, something we have forgotten how to be. What is that war, prelate? Honorable. The Battle of Earth ended at 0847 hours, November 15th, 2023. Final tally, Dominion losses 120 ships, destroyed 60 heavily damaged human losses, 15 orbital platforms, 247 fighters, 247 personnel. Every name would be remembered, including Major Dakota Reeves. His final mission came at 0841 hours. A planet breaker missile had gotten through, targeting Los Angeles. 4 million people. His fighter's targeting system was damaged. He could not lock missiles. So he made a different choice. Reaper 7 to command. I have visual on the planet breaker. My weapons are down. I'm going to intercept manually. Negative Reaper 7. We can vector other fighters. No time, tell my boys. He did not finish the sentence. Just aimed his fighter at the massive missile. Accelerated, maximum burn. Thought of Matthew and Marcus, 6 years old, too young to lose their father, but old enough to grow up free because of what he did next. The collision was silent, spectacular. The planet breaker detonated safely above the atmosphere. Los Angeles survived. Dakota Reeves did not. His last words echoed across every command frequency. Tell my boys. Daddy loved them. Then static. Elias heard the transmission, closed his eyes, added another name to the list he was memorizing. Major Dakota Reeves, 31 years old, father of Matthew and Marcus. Hero, dead so others could live. 72 hours after the Battle of Earth, humanity launched its counteroffensive. 12 human fleets, each targeting a different Dominion border world. The message was clear. We don't just defend, we liberate. The planet Kelvar 3 was first. Mining colony. Population 3 million. Dominion citizens 2 million enslaved workers. Local defense 20 Zarian cruisers. Human ships arrived, broadcasting their signature Fortunate Son, playing on all frequencies. Captain Lisa Viper Johnson commanded the lead destroyer Freedom's Dawn. 45 years old, former Navy, lost her son in Syria, fought now so other mothers would not lose sons to tyrants. She opened communications. Attention Dominion forces. This is Captain Johnson. We're not here to kill you unless you make us. We're here to free the people you've enslaved. 5 minutes to abandon ships. We'll recover your pods. You'll be treated humanely. Your choice. The Zarian commander looked at his fleet, saw ships that had just watched their empire shattered at Earth, saw weapons that had destroyed dreadnoughts. Abandon ship, he ordered. 4 minutes later, the Dominion garrison was evacuated. All pods recovered. All personnel treated with dignity. Then Lisa hacked the planetary network. Broadcast evidence. Financial records showing 80% of Kelvar 3's resources diverted to Dominion core worlds. Communications calling the population cattle. Orders to suppress resistance with extreme violence. The enslaved workers saw proof of what they had always suspected and revolted. Within 12 hours, Kelvar 3 was free. The same story repeated across all 12 targeted worlds. But humanity also employed psychological warfare that the Dominion had no defense against. On Beltar, 7 human hackers overrode military channels. Dominion commanders trying to coordinate defense instead heard Earth comedy shows. Stand-up routines. Jokes about Dominion incompetence. One hacker replaced an admiral's tactical display with videos of cats. The admiral made critical errors, lost his fleet while confused by felines. On Vex's prime commandos infiltrated a supply depot, reprogrammed it. Request ammunition, receive toilet paper. Request medical supplies, receive party decorations. Request vehicle fuel, receive cooking oil. The garrison surrendered without fighting, too disorganized to resist. But the most infamous incident was the Great Sewage Incident. Grand Admiral Vexlorn commanded the dreadnought Unbreakable Will, arrogant, cruel, Carvoth's rival. Private First Class Marcus Donovan, callsign Plumber, was a hacker from Austin, Texas, 24 years old. Grew up poor, learned computers to survive. Now he was about to humiliate an admiral. Marcus infiltrated Unbreakable Will's waste reclamation system, reversed all protocols. For 6 hours, sewage backed up through every deck, flooded corridors, made the ship uninhabitable. Vexlorn evacuated, covered in filth, humiliated beyond measure. Human forces captured the abandoned ship, cleaned it, returned it with a note. Here's your ship back. We cleaned up your mess. Try not to be so full of it next time. Plumber and you, E.S. Flush. The video went viral across the galaxy. Vassal species shared it, laughed, found hope in the mighty brought low by toilet humor. 3 weeks after the Battle of Earth, the final blow came. Agent Lyra Foster had been deep cover for 3 years, working on Dominion Capital's Etheria Prime, assistant to the Minister of Cultural Integration. For 3 years she had recorded, documented, waited. Now was her moment. The High Council met in emergency session. Supreme Overlord Kethrix presiding, 500 years old, furious at the losses, the humiliation. Explain how primitives destroyed our fleet, he raged at Carvoth. The chamber doors opened. Lyra walked in, simple black suit, small device in hand. Guards moved toward her. She pressed the button. Every screen activated, showing Kethrix's private conversations, planning genocides, embezzlement, corruption, communications with slavers, evidence of every crime. I've already uploaded everything, Lyra said calmly as guards grabbed her. Your secrets are out, Supreme Overlord. The galaxy knows what you are. Kethrix ordered her executed, but the damage was done. Within hours, the evidence spread. Citizens saw their leaders' true faces. Even loyal military personnel were shocked. Rebellions erupted across Dominion space, and on Earth, deep beneath Colorado mountains, Cassidy's bunker came under attack. Dominion Special Forces, sent before the fleet retreated. Orders take hostages. 200 children, including Cassidy, including Emma. The attack came at 0230 hours. Alarms, lights, screaming, teachers herding children deeper. Bulkheads, ceiling. Cassidy grabbed Emma's hand. It's okay, she whispered, trying to be brave. We're safe here. But she could hear weapons fire, getting closer. In the Pentagon, Elias received the alert. Colorado bunker under assault. Hostiles approaching children's section. Everything stopped. Cassidy, his daughter, under attack. Kate, you have command. I'm going. Brennan understood. Go. 12 minutes later, Elias was on a stealth transport. With him, 12 Special Forces operators from 6 nations. They landed 2 clicks from the bunker. Moved fast through mountain terrain. Elias thought of Catherine, of the promise. Take care of Cassidy. He could not keep that promise if she died. They hit the bunker entrance, found it breached, followed the hostiles inside. Close quarters combat. Brutal. No fancy tactics. Just training and will. Sergeant O'Malley took a plasma bolt to the chest. Dead instantly. Corporal Takeshi lost his arm, kept fighting, bled out buying time. Private Volkov held a corridor alone. Took 7 shots. Never fell back. 3 dead, so others could live. Elias and the survivors reached the children's section, found Dominion soldiers trying to breach the final door. Hit them from behind. 90 seconds of violence. 12 Dominion soldiers dead. Elias stood before the barricaded door, covered in blood not his own. It's Ambassador Thornwood, open up. The door opened, teachers with weapons, and then he saw her. Cassidy, small, scared, alive. Daddy, she ran. Teachers tried to hold her back, but she was 9 and desperate. Elias caught her, lifted her, held her tight enough to hurt, both crying, both shaking. I came back, he whispered. I promised. I knew you would. Around them, children evacuated. Emma, others, all safe now. But O'Malley Takeshi Volkov lay dead in corridors. 3 more names for the memorial. Elias carried Cassidy out, into mountain air, under stars that no longer seemed safe. I've got you, baby. You're safe. But he knew safety was a lie now. The war was far from over. 3 months after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy held its breath. 23 worlds in open rebellion. The Dominion military fracturing. And on Zetheria, Prime Supreme Overlord Kethrix prepared for one final desperate gambit. Deploy the final option, he commanded. Planet crackers on every rebellious world. Biological weapons on border systems. We will show the galaxy what happens when you challenge the Dominion. Fleet Master Vorian stood at the back of the war room, 400 years old, veteran of 1,000 campaigns. He had served the Dominion his entire life. No, Vorian said quietly. The room fell. No, Vorian said quietly. The room fell silent. Kethrix turned. What did you say? I said no, I will not allow genocide of billions. That's not warfare, that's mass murder. And I won't be part of it. Behind Vorian 50 officers, armed, loyal to him, not Kethrix. You commit mutiny. Kethrix's voice was ice. I prevent atrocity. I've served you 4 centuries, Supreme Overlord. Believed we brought order, but we brought only pain. The humans showed us what we've become. Monsters. And I'm done. He gestured to the officers. So are they. We represent 80% of the fleet. Officers who've seen the evidence, who know the crimes committed in our names. We're finished. Kethrix reached for his weapon. Vorian was faster. Stun blast. The ancient tyrant collapsed. Brief fighting. Kethrix's guard versus Vorian's officers. 30 seconds. Superior numbers won. When smoke cleared, the High Council was in chains. Vorian looked at Karvoth, who had watched silently. War Prelate, will you join us, or do you still serve tyranny? Karvoth thought of Elias Thornwood, of the mercy offered when humanity could have destroyed them. I serve justice, he said. What do you need? Send a message to Earth. Tell them we surrender. 2 hours later, the message reached Elias. He was still in Colorado, still with Cassidy, refusing to leave until he knew she was safe. He read the transmission, verified authenticity. General Brennan, the Dominion wants to surrender. Prepare a delegation. The negotiation took place on a neutral station. Hastily built, symbol of cooperation replacing conflict. Elias led the human delegation. Vorian led the Dominion side, Karvoth with him. The room was simple, no displays of conquest. Just intelligent beings trying to find a path forward. Fleet Master Vorian, Elias began. You stopped Kethrix from deploying weapons of mass destruction. For that, humanity is grateful. Vorian inclined his head. I could not allow genocide, not anymore. The terms all vassal species granted independence. All Dominion forces disarm. Kethrix and war criminals stand trial. But, Elias paused, the Zarian people will not be punished for their leaders' crimes. Karvoth stared. You spare us. We're not interested in revenge. We want to build something better. A galaxy where species cooperate as equals. A young Zarian officer spoke. Why show mercy to enemies? Elias thought of Dakota Reeves, of O'Malley Takeshi Volkov, of 247 names. Because revenge doesn't bring them back. And because we want to show the galaxy that justice is not vengeance. Kethrix will spend his life in prison thinking about what he did. Future generations will see that even the worst criminals deserve due process. That's the galaxy we want to build. Vorian bowed his head. Deep respect. We accept your terms, all of them. The Galactic Cooperative was born that day, not an empire, a voluntary alliance, democratic, messy, free. The trials began 4 weeks later. Former High Council chamber, redesigned, judges from dozens of species in tiered seating, at center simple chairs for the accused. Supreme Overlord Kethrix sat bound, still burning with impotent rage. Judge Koresh presided, a Felixian whose family had died to Dominion violence, but he proved capable of separating pain from duty. This tribunal will determine guilt or innocence of those accused of war crimes and genocide. Each defendant gets legal representation. Each can present a defense. This is justice, not vengeance. The trial lasted 4 months. Evidence presented meticulously. Witnesses testified. Defense challenged everything. It was slow, fair, everything the Dominion never was. Elias testified on day 47, describing the threat, the battle, the restraint. We chose mercy because that's what separates civilization from barbarism. Power without compassion is cruelty. We refuse to become what we fought. Kethrix listened, impassive, unrepentant. Verdicts came on day 123. Supreme Overlord Kethrix guilty, life imprisonment without parole. Other council members, similar sentences. Some military commanders guilty, others acquitted when evidence showed they followed illegal orders unknowingly. Karvoth acquitted, commended, offered position as military advisor to the cooperative. He accepted. Vorian similarly honored, became co-chair of Cooperative Defense Committee with General Brennan. Agent Lyra Foster, rescued during Vorian's coup, testified at trials and received a Medal of Honor. Reunited with family, scarred but alive. 6 months after the trial, Elias visited Kethrix in prison. The former Supreme Overlord looked smaller, older, stripped of power. "Why did you come?" Kethrix rasped. "To tell you something. 40 years ago, we detected the Dominion. We had a choice. Hide or prepare. We chose preparation." Elias leaned forward. "But here's what's interesting. If you'd approached Earth 40 years ago and asked to trade, to share knowledge, to be friends, we would have said yes. We were looking for allies, not enemies. We would have welcomed you." Pause. "But you assumed we'd be weak, easy to control. That assumption cost you everything. Your empire, your freedom, your legacy. You have decades to think about that, about how different things could have been." He left Kethrix alone with crushing regret. Outside, Cassidy waited. She had asked to come, to see the being who threatened her world. "Is he scary?" 9 years old, trying to understand. "He used to be. Now he's just shaggy and old and alone." "Do you feel sorry for him?" "No, but I don't hate him either. He made choices. Now he lives with consequences. That's justice." They walked to the transport, toward home, toward Earth, where a memorial waited. Arlington National Cemetery. 6 months after the battle. Black stone wall, polished, reflecting gray sky, carved with 3,247 names, every person who died defending Earth. Elias stood before it, Cassidy beside him. Thousands gathered. Families, friends, survivors. Speeches given, honors bestowed. But Elias only saw names. Major Dakota Reeves, died intercepting Planet Breaker above Los Angeles. Sergeant O'Malley, died defending Colorado Bunker. Corporal Takeshi, lost his arm, kept fighting, bled out. Private Volkov, held a quarter, took 7 shots, never retreated. 3,247 stories. 3,247 families destroyed. 3,247 futures ended so others could continue. "Daddy, who are all these people?" Elias knelt, met her eyes. "Heroes, sweetheart, everyone. They gave everything so you could be free. Did you know them?" "Some. Major Reeves. His boys are your age. Matthew and Marcus. They're here today." He pointed to 2 6-year-olds with grandparents, both in suits, trying not to cry. "Can I go say hi?" "Yes, that would be kind." She walked over, introduced herself. Elias watched her talk with the twins, children sharing grief too young to fully understand. General Brennan approached, dress uniform, medals gleaming. "My son's name is on the wall," she said quietly. "Different war, Afghanistan, 2019. But the principle is the same. He died so others could live." "I'm sorry, Kate." "Don't be. He made his choice. I'm proud. Heartbroken, but proud." Silence. "You know what I realized?" Brennan continued. "When I was Cassidy's age, my grandfather took me to a war memorial. He was a Marine, showed me walls of faces, young men who died, said, 'Katie, freedom isn't free.' But that doesn't mean we spend it carelessly. Every name here matters. Remember that." She looked at Elias. "Now I understand. We won, saved billions. But these 3,247 paid the price, and we owe them everything. We'll make sure they're remembered, not as statistics, as people with names, families, stories. Already done. Every name has a page, biography, photos, letters. Future generations will know who they were." Cassidy returned with Matthew and Marcus. "Mr. Ambassador," Matthew said, small voice. "Brave. Did our daddy really save Los Angeles?" Elias knelt, met the boy's eyes. "Your father saved 4 million people. He made the hardest choice. To die so others could live. That makes him the bravest man I ever knew." "We miss him," Marcus whispered. "I know. You'll always miss him, but you'll always remember him. As a hero, as your dad, and as someone who loved you more than his own life." The ceremony ended. People dispersed slowly. Elias and Cassidy stayed longest. She placed a red rose at the memorial base. For everyone, she said simply. They walked away, leaving the memorial behind, carrying its weight forward. 5 years passed, the galaxy transformed. The Galactic Cooperative grew to 83 species. Trade flourished. Scientific breakthroughs, medicine, agriculture, faster than light travel improved. Wars still happened, but now there was framework for resolution, mediation, not conquest. Children of different species attended school together. Hope replaced fear, and Cassidy Thornwood grew up. November 15th, 2028, 5 years after the Battle of Earth, Galactic Cooperative Youth Summit, built specifically for this purpose. Representatives from every member species, ages 12 to 18. Future leaders learning cooperation. Cassidy was 14, taller, hair longer, still her father's daughter but finding her own voice, selected as Earth's youth delegate. Not because of nepotism, but because she had written an essay about sacrifice and freedom that went viral. Now she stood before 2,000 young beings from 100 worlds, giving the opening address. In the audience, Elias, 53 now, silver hair, more lines, retired from diplomacy, advisor to the cooperative. Beside him, Carvoth, no longer war prelate, just Carvoth, friend, ally, teacher of military history. The transformation had taken years, conversations, shared meals, slow trust building, but it happened. Your daughter is remarkable, Carvoth said. She's her mother's daughter. Catherine would be proud. As should you be. On stage, Cassidy began. My name is Cassidy Thornwood. 5 years ago, my father went to war. He promised he'd come back, and he did. But 3,247 others didn't. Pause. Weight settling. Those people died defending their home, defending freedom, defending the idea that species should choose their own destiny instead of having it dictated by empires built on fear. I'm here because they fought not for conquest but for liberation, not for revenge but for justice. They taught us that strength without compassion is cruelty, that the powerful have a responsibility to protect the weak, that cooperation is stronger than domination. Her voice rose, passionate. You've all read about the Battle of Earth, about how humanity defeated the Dominion. But that's not the important part. The important part is what happened after. We could have destroyed our enemies. We chose mercy. We could have built an empire. We chose partnership. We could have taken revenge. We chose justice. That's the legacy those 3,247 people left us. Not just victory, the choice to be better, to build something new, to create a galaxy where we work together instead of tearing each other apart. We're the first generation growing up in this galaxy. We don't remember the Dominion. We don't remember empires and slaves and fear. We're growing up with friends from 100 worlds, learning from each other, building together. That's our responsibility. To honor those who died by making their sacrifice mean something, by building a future they'd be proud of, by choosing cooperation over conquest, compassion over cruelty, freedom over fear. Pause, 2 seconds. 5 years ago, my father made me a promise. When the war was over, we'd go to the Grand Canyon, stand at the edge, look at 1 billion years of Earth's history. Remember how small we are, how brief our lives, how important it is to make them count. We went last summer. Standing there, he said, Cass, we're just a tiny moment in time, but we can make it count. 3,247 people made their moment count. They fought, they sacrificed, they died, so we could stand here today, free, together, building something better. Direct look at camera, at her father. That's the galaxy they gave us. Let's not waste it. Thunderous applause. 2,000 beings standing, cheering, unified in hope. Elias watched his daughter bow, watched her smile, watched her be everything he and Catherine hoped she'd become. Brave, compassionate, wise. Carvoth leaned over. She will be a great leader. Maybe, but more importantly, she'll be a good person. That matters more. After the summit, Elias and Cassidy took the trip. Grand Canyon, North Rim, November sunset, father and daughter at the edge, looking at 1 billion years carved by water and time. Sun painting canyon in red and gold, shadows deepening, light crowning peaks. Above sky transitioning from blue to purple to star-filled black. And across that sky ships, cooperative vessels, Zarian and Human and Felixian, and dozens more, working together. Peaceful patrols. You kept your promise, Dad. Always will, sweetheart. That's what we do. Do you think about them, the people who died every day? Was it worth it? Elias looked at his daughter, at the question's impossible weight. I think they believed it was worth it. They chose to fight, chose to sacrifice. So you could stand here, free, safe, building a future they'd never see. Arm around her shoulders. We survived the Dominion not because we were strongest, but because we refused to become what we fought. We could have conquered. We chose to liberate. We could have taken revenge. We chose justice. We could have dominated. We chose partnership. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not weapons, not technology. The idea that we're stronger together than apart. That freedom is worth fighting for. That mercy is not weakness. Cassidy leaned against him. I hope I can live up to that. You already do, baby. Your speech today, your conviction, your compassion. You're exactly what they died to protect. A future where children believe in cooperation, not conquest. Where different species are friends, not enemies. Where peace is possible. Silence. Watching sunset. Watching stars emerge. Shooting stars streaked across sky. Brief, bright, gone. Make a wish, Elias said. Cassidy closed her eyes. Wished, opened them. What did you wish for? Can't tell, won't come true. Elias smiled, but he knew. She wished for the same thing. That peace would last. That cooperation would continue. That 3,247 sacrifices would not be in vain. They stayed until full dark. Until Milky Way blazed overhead. Until the universe revealed itself in terrible beauty and infinite possibility. We should head back. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Father and daughter, survivors, witnesses, carrying hope forward. Distant coyote howled, ancient, wild, free. I love this planet, Cassidy said. Me too, baby. They turned from infinity, walked to the car, returned to the finite world, but carrying something, a memory, a promise kept, a moment shared, knowledge that sometimes against all odds, good people could win, not through conquest, through choice, the choice to be better, to show mercy, to build instead of destroy, to laugh in the face of tyrants and offer them a hand when they fell. That was humanity's legacy, not the battle, the peace. 247 people died for that peace. And Cassidy Thornwood, 14 at the Grand Canyon with her father, promised silently to make it count. Their sacrifice would mean something. The galaxy would be worth protecting. The car drove into Arizona night, headlights cutting darkness, radio playing soft music, father and daughter in comfortable silence. Above stars watched. Among those stars, ships flying in peace, human and Zarian and Felixian and countless others. Former enemies now allies, former conquerors now partners, former empire now cooperation. All because a species that should have been primitives chose to laugh instead of fear, chose to prepare instead of hide, chose to fight instead of kneel, and most importantly, chose mercy instead of revenge. The Dominion ruled through fear for 3,000 years. Humanity tore it down in less than 3, not through overwhelming force, through the simple, radical idea that freedom was worth fighting for. And that victory meant nothing if you became monsters to achieve it. That was the lesson. That was the legacy. That was the last laugh. And it echoed across a galaxy that would never forget the day a small blue planet said no to an empire and changed everything. 3 months after the Grand Canyon trip, Deep Space Monitoring Station, Galactic Cooperative Observatory, Dr. Elena Cross, now 45, Director of Deep Space Research, received an alert at 0347 hours. Unusual signal pattern from unexplored region, 30,000 light years away. Not natural, too structured, encrypted, but breakable. She worked for 6 hours, decrypting, analyzing. Finally, the message revealed itself. Her hands shook as she read it. She called Elias immediately. Secure channel. We have a situation. Another civilization wants to talk. Friendly. They say so, and Elias, they watched our war. They know what we can do. Pause. Good. Let them come. We'll be ready. And this time, maybe we start with friendship instead of ultimatums. Elena smiled. I'll draft a response. Make it clear we come in peace, but we don't kneel. Not for anyone, Parmesan. Understood. The message that went back into deep space was simple. Far across the void on a ship, unlike any human, had seen an alien commander receive the response. She was tall, graceful, 4 arms, skin that shifted colors with emotion. She smiled, or the equivalent. They're direct, honest, wary but open. She looked at her crew. I like them already. Commander Shavara, her second said, are you certain they defeated the Dominion? They have weapons that they chose not to use when they could have annihilated a defeated enemy. Did you not watch the recordings? They showed mercy, restraint, built peace instead of empire. She stood, prepared diplomatic envoy. I want to meet these humans who laugh at tyrants and then offer them second chances, who fight with music and humor, who choose justice over revenge. Pause. Besides, I'm curious about this psychological warfare. Music and toilet humor as weapons fascinating. The ship adjusted course toward cooperative space, toward Earth, toward a species that had proven that sometimes the best weapon was not strength. It was choosing to be better than you needed to be. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had shown them something new. Hope.